Archimax login confirmed.
Welcome to the Lodge. You've accessed
The Lodgecast experience.
warning, warning, dangerous spoilers ahead. Enjoy.
Get him,
Venom,
get him,
Venom.
get him, Venom, get him.
Get him,
Welcome to Hot Takes. This is Brother Lucas.
Venom.
Our guest for the Venom app is the distinguished Brother Nathan.
Hey, what's up? We gotta go get him, Venom.
As I was saying, this movie has the distinction of being a film that none of us saw together, so it'll be interesting to see how that may affect our ratings.
Our memories. Yeah.
It is hot as fuck today. It's Indian summer.
90 in Burbank on October.
Big 9-0.
Yes, it is a sweltering fall for us. And what better time to see a hot new Marvel Sony release? Brother Bitchke, you just came out of Venom.
Yep, I just came out of Venom.
Take us through a little bit of your experience, like, as it started. Like, what did you think?
My Marvel fatigue is at an all-time high. I was not wanting to see this movie, really. And the reviews were low, I knew, and
But the people love it.
And the reviews were low, I knew, and
But the people love it.
The audience was packed almost for a 12:30 p.m. showing.
And
here
this
at
is
Burbank
deep
60.
in its run.
Yeah. People were excited, and people are not fatigued.
Well, I mean, they're going to make a second one no matter what.
Yeah.
As this is a hot take, and we assume everybody who is remotely interested in Venom has seen it, let's just get into it. Tom Hardy, what do we feel about him as a movie star? Are we pro? Is this a pro Hardy Prius?
For this movie, yeah. I mean, it's pro Hardy. I'm pro Hardy in general.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for.
And I think he does what he can with it until Venom takes over. I mean, I thought he was having fun with it. Like
he reminded me of Jim Carrey in his wackier body humor prime in a lot of it, because he is doing crazy physical comedy basically. And it seems like, and I've seen in interviews with him, that infamous one where he's like, they cut out all my best stuff. Mm-hmm. It seems like they truly did.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like they were cutting away from his crazy committed performance when they should have been leaning into it and featuring it.
Yeah,
What did you guys think?
I thought the best part was in the middle when Venom was first becoming. It's kind of like reminding me of like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly when when Venom's first taking over and he's in that restaurant and he's eating the lobsters and
the lobster scene was the best.
That scene was great,
and that could have been the guidepost for the rest of it.
Yeah,
and that would have been great.
It could have just been him struggling with it, but Venom just quickly takes over and it becomes a Marvel action movie, and
then it becomes boring.
And then it becomes pretty boring.
What was the backseat thinking?
I had a problem with kind of the narration right away. Venom's voice is really cartoonish. I mean, like, I'm going into it like a comic book fan. I was very curious. I know the McFarlane comics. I know how it's just. I mean, it's an adolescent, fanboy's dream. It's these big eyes, big tongue, and blah. This guy's just like, I'm gonna eat your guts. It's a radical character. So that's why I think it's still in theaters right now. Film theater. Adolescent boys are going to this thing. They got to see this. I was really hurt that it wasn't like rated R. I mean, there should have been blood flying everywhere.
Should have been
for
R.
us. Like there should be. Venom needs to be that red-fanged
red band,
and he kind of danced the whole thing all the way. He danced between good and bad, and I thought there was a struggle for the whole film.
It seems like there was probably executive struggles with this. It seems like it was recut 7 times. I mean, that's how it felt.
I know that Isaac, the character that he's playing. Isaac Brock, is that his name? Yeah,
Eddie Brock.
Eddie Brock, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly in the comic who it is. It's a fast talking, hey, but he's more of like a Jim, like a, he was someone who worked with the Daily Bugle with Spider-Man. He's a Spider-Man character. So to have him on his own, where he's just kind of like a dirtball, but he's like a Geraldo Rivera, like he's that. He has a show like that, and he's so tapped in. He's such a dirtbag the whole movie. I was surprised how much of a dirtball. You got to talk about that.
That was pretty silly. Like when I saw it, like I think it was a 10:40 p.m. showing at the Burbank 16 IMAX. Like I got there 2 minutes early, but the movie had started like 20 minutes early because when I walked in, the spaceship crash in the opening was in medias res. Like it was already in progress. And my buddy that I was with was like, is this the trailer to King Godzilla and Kong? And I'm like, I don't know. And then boom, the title came up and I'm like, wow, this is the first time I've ever been like early to a movie that's already like started.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
So that kind of threw me off my game, but very quickly I knew what I was in for when it cut to the Tom Hardy Eddie Brock journalist like montage. And it was
it's
half-assed, sloppy, embarrassingly bad.
For such a high budget movie, think they had made that more authentic.
But that pretty much set the bar or the tone for the rest of the piece or duration. Like the whole movie for me felt like such a slapdash, slop fest. Like fucking, we'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, like Tom Hardy's accent slipping all over the place. Like he's like in a different like movie all his own.
Here's what you get with Tom Hardy.
Oh, it was just a mess.
You get all the accents. You get all of them. He's a package deal. He comes bundled with every accent known to man sloshed together with a dash of Tom Hardy's own signature house blend of whatever the fuck that accent is.
Marble mouth.
You just got to let him roll. Like you can tell he will not really be directed. Like I think he is so, I don't know, like he probably lived on the street for a little bit for this. Like you could see all sorts of crazy shit he'd do to get into the headspace of this weird character.
And I felt like he was even too old for the Eddie Brock role. Like I felt like it was like a square peg in a round hole, and him and Michelle Williams, like who are great actors. Like I'm pro Hardy, I'm pro Williams. Like I love them both.
Roles, they're both great.
But in these characters, I was like, this just feels weird. Like they're playing dress up. Like they're just joking around.
I mean, Tom Hardy had to just do this for the money. Like, I mean, I'm just thinking on his roster, he just maybe wanted to be more featured as a superhero, and he chose Venom.
It's a big payday for sure.
I've heard in interviews as well, like, also that he was saying, like, he was playing it like, he thought of it like Ren and Stimpy. He thought it was like they're beating on each other and yelling at each other. And that is a far more interesting movie than what we got. I mean, it feels like it's a neutered performance, and they kind of left in the wrong improvs. There was that one line about the symbiote's up my ass or whatever that was. Like, like that they rolled on that and they said, well, maybe there's a laugh there, but nobody's laughing.
I have a question.
Nobody's laughing at him.
On a scale from 0 to Riz Ahmed, how miscast is Michelle Williams?
She's just awkward in this, right? She's just like,
she's vanilla Marvel girlfriend.
I found it kind of offensive. Yeah, at the end she was wearing this weird like plaid jumper skirt and like knee-high socks, and it was like very juvenile almost. But I was like, this doesn't ring true. This is like weird.
Every time she came on screen, I just kept thinking of the behind-the-scenes discussions she had with her management. They're like, hey,
they're playing Hardy, though.
The superhero train's leaving. Are you on it? Are you on it? It's not guaranteed to
you
come back
be the
to
girl
town.
In this?
Yeah. Are you going to be in this and get the royalties for this and possibly pop up God knows where? Yeah, or are you just going to,
Venom or Lady Venom is in here?
Because that was the takeaway for me, was that you have such great actors, not only in Tom Hardy and Michelle Williams, but yes, Riz Ahmed, but they're all so terrible.
I don't know about Riz.
Can we get him?
They're like rushing. I know Riz is like good, but
as the main villain.
No, I didn't.
As the Elon Musk,
Elon Musk
inspired
villain. It was so campy and just
it was half-hearted.
He looked like a little kid dressed up.
It was like they were at a table read. Like everyone was just rushing through.
Another victim of the editing, Jenny Slate. Weird character.
They shoehorn her just like the
she dies.
Artemis.
They cut away from her when she's about to get symbioted. And then they cut back and she's just dead on the floor.
And
and she's done.
Pointless.
And it's completely...
Like she was killed there by the thing, right?
Yeah.
Not inhabited, like...
But her character, they're making it seem like she's going to be like his tech guy on the inside. you know, or like she's going to be helping out or something, and then she dies unceremoniously. Very, very weird. And they cut before she screams, or there's something weird with her scream too. I was just like,
yeah, I felt the whole movie was 80-yard, and like, you know, Eddie getting fired and Michelle Williams calling off their engagement. If you look closely at those scenes, it's all looped. There is no shots of any of that happening, which just shows you they didn't have it like cut together, and they were like, we don't have a movie, like we need to have him get fired, but we don't have it. Well, we'll just ADR it. So like, it was in those scenes where
it.
Yeah, no, if you go back and look at those scenes, like I swear to God, I was like, wow, they really had nothing, and they had to like somehow make this work.
He
and
loses
post.
everything, man. He loses his Geraldo Rivera on the spot TV show. She dumps him. She marries a doctor. How about this? She leaves him. She's like, I'll marry a doctor within maybe who knows, 4 or 5 months. And then the doctor gets involved in the plot.
And it's
the
Dan,
doctor
it's
looks
Dan from Veep playing Dan from
Veep.
Venom.
Dan from Veep comes in there and he studies him. And then it goes into that whole subplot where he's like, I got to get this out of me, you know. And they discover some of the weaknesses.
And it takes them forever to discover it. And it's like, Jesus, like, can we just hurry up and like have them realize something's amiss? Like from the moment he goes in the CAT scan,
But
like
that lobster scene.
yeah, that lobster scene is where I was done. I was kind of like,
You
all
were
right,
done.
like
You were
yeah,
done.
I was
No,
just-
that's where I was.
just
That's
like-
where I was
like,
first.
I think it should have been more of that.
That's where I was first perking up. I was like, maybe it's going to be him struggling. I mean, him kind of being schizophrenic and struggling with this thing, but
In the theater I went to, it was like a late night IMAX, which is kind of spooky sometimes. If you're in a you're in a theater, you're in a theater built for, you know, the entire town to come see a movie, and it's just you and this guy,
some, like, street kids,
and
and baseball bats coming out of
and
the smoke.
this guy, it became obvious. He was hearing something in his head, and he was responding to it, and that's kind of the whole shtick of the movie. And I'm like, this man is watching a man with voices in his head react, and then he himself is reacting to voices in his own head. What kind of cinematic experience is this man having? And that made the movie more interesting.
Yeah, there was a couple. I went to a late night IMAX show as well, and there was a couple sitting next to me, and I glanced over, and one person's head was in another person's lap, and I was like, oh, I better not look over again. I better just keep watching.
mine was full of families. My screen was full of families, and
I was gonna say that to ask
kids,
that too.
Kids were crying, but kids were also laughing. And
So I went to a 7:30 primetime on like a weekday at Landmark, and all the seats were empty when I got there, and then it started to fill in. It was like older couples, a woman on her own. Right by me, it wasn't filling in, but then right before the movie, kids came, like adolescent boys. A kid had a Venom shirt on, like it was like the tongue or something.
So was he respectful
and they had their
of the
phones
film?
on. He turned it off. But he
Yeah,
had it
the
on
audience
the
I
lowest
saw
setting.
it with was with
they were
it.
enjoying
Like,
it.
They were yucking it up.
The people
and loving,
love it.
They were loving it, like every minute of it. And I was just kind of looking at my friend, just thinking, like, this is so dumb.
They were loving the humor. They were loving the humor.
I have to tell you, like, I think there is something to this audience score, because I was able to turn my brain completely off for a while, and just, like, it goes through the motions. It does everything that it thinks you want it to do. It's like it was made by AI or something, so something's just off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Ruben Fleischer's not much of a visionary. Like, I just don't think he's a great director, and this kind of proves it. Like, it's just so poorly, like, pastiched or put together. Although I will say, the shootout in the lobby of the Sony Pictures Plaza building, which was also the police headquarters in Last Action Hero, the big, like, atrium, like, kind of, like, top, like, that's...
Yeah.
He's got all the lasers on him.
Yeah, that's like the lobby of the building I've been working at for the last month. So I went from the office after like 10 hours, like straight to the movie.
Straight
and I
to
was
the
like,
shootout.
I'm back at work, like never
That's
left.
great.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of sequences. I mean, there was a couple of sequences as a fan of like the character of Venom that they nailed it. There was a scene where he's like chasing after a guy on a dock, and he's under this low light, perfect condition for the terrible CGI throughout. But there's a couple times where they got close. They did a close up of his teeth, and he looked like, oh man, that's Venom. You know, like good or bad, that's Venom. And sometimes you don't know what you ask for. You know, every Hulk I've seen, I've been like, well, damn, that was a Hulk movie, but it sucked or something. You know, like it's just like that's what it is.
What do
It's
we
a big
think-
goofy guy with a big. That's what you're kind of paying your dollar for.
What do we
It's
think of
that
the special
big
effects, like the
bodybuilder?
It just
Venom.
again, it just felt
Boring.
slapdash. It just
Yeah.
felt like they didn't have a lot of time or money.
It was
and it
pretty
was
rough.
like, yeah, Venom. We got to get this Venom movie like fast track. Like, get me Tom Hardy, whoever, and boom.
Well, I have
let's
that,
put
I
it
have
out.
a sinking question. Like, where is that black ooze? Where's it coming from? What do you guys? No, from him. Where is it emitting from his body to surround him? You guys have never thought about that? What about Dave? Did you say ass?
It's gotta be the ass.
Oh, what do you think, Lucas? Where do you think it comes from?
I never really thought of that. I just
It just
figured it
shells around him?
Yeah, it just comes out of every pore simultaneously.
See,
like
that's different though. Out of every pore.
yeah.
I don't think.
But I mean, am I
I'm
wrong
thinking
to think that in
back
the
of his head,
comic,
maybe?
or even in the third Sam Raimi version, that Venom, like, it's a parasite that
It's an
turns
alien parasite
but it doesn't give
that
you
needs a
voice.
host.
It didn't. Yeah, but it didn't have a personality of its own. That's something they invented just for the movie, right?
No,
Or
there's always like a dark.
So there's
it's a dark energy.
So there's
Passenger.
a voice that he
he
always
needs to survive
communicates
with you. Yeah.
Got
But
it. Got
but
it. I thought
they're
for some
a
reason it turned him
symbiotic-
into like a werewolf and he had no control over it, but like it wasn't talking to him. Like I was trying to just.
Well, it's a symbiote. Like it needs a host, to thrive. They meet each other. So that's like there's something to it in a comic book way that's like it could work and it could have been fun.
But it would
and
need
you had
to-
Tom Hardy, so it's kind of like
It wouldn't have needed to be Tom Hardy and like Edward Wright. or
But yeah,
something.
but Nathan,
Edgar Wright.
but
sorry.
Nathan, you kind of like hit the nail on the head when really like the simple fix to it would have been to make it rated R, and then you can go all the way,
Just
and
go a
then
little
then it's way shocking and crazy. But I get it, like they're trying to sell kids like
like you can't cut off that market. It's leaving money on the table. I understand.
Yeah, it's the four quadrant.
But I think it probably pleases kids with a little dare. I mean, it's a little edgier of a superhero.
Yeah,
And I'm
anti-hero, for
encouraging
sure.
that kind of genre, but I want him to get to Swamp Thing. Or I want him to get him to some like darker characters that don't get touched on.
Well, isn't Seth MacFarlane redoing Spawn? Speaking of,
Yeah, like their Spawn. These Spawn ones are kind of boneheaded. Some of these horror characters, kinda. I mean, like they really are one dimensional. Venom is sort of one dimensional compared to Spider-Man. He's a Spider-Man villain.
We got Carnage coming.
3 movies.
See, that
Carnage.
to me should have been the movie. As soon as we saw the bumper scene with Woody Harrelson is when I perked up finally and was like, dude, how is this not the whole movie? Like,
Much like with Michelle
Great
Williams.
cast for this
Damn
movie,
it.
guys. Great cast.
Much like when I saw Michelle Williams and I just imagined her discussion with her agent. When I saw Woody Harrelson, all I saw was motherfuckers in another cinematic universe franchise.
He hasn't been somebody
he's
else.
like, I'm just cashing those checks,
Hunger
baby, and I
Games.
still get
Yeah,
shares
yeah.
residuals.
Star Wars.
It was a terrible
he's in
wig.
every
though. It was a
franchise.
terrible wig he's
Marvel.
got on, and that character in the comic is kind of a cracker. So it would be an interesting, well, who knows? Great
how
cast.
many
Venom.
bones are we giving Venom?
Yeah, let's do it. Hot takes, guys.
Venom,
Brother Nathan.
Yeah.
What do you got?
So,
for us?
man, it's kind of fun to just buy your ticket for Venom and you're going in and that's your experience. Like, I went to it right away. So that alone, like, there's a draw there for, like, some excitement here in October. It had a big release here in October, so, I mean, there's something to it. I'm like, this movie is pretty hokey and it's pretty bad, and I give it 2 bones for the cast, for the
okay.
effects, and it didn't just kick me out of bed, and it's all right.
That's pretty lenient, I'd say.
Like you said, it flowed. It was expected. I just think everything was wrong with it though. It just wasn't the Venom I want, and now we're gonna have 3 of these. I don't want to encourage it too much, but I want to see more of these dark characters have their own show. They're more interesting films to me.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Brother Lucas, I can feel your bone rising.
Yeah, when I was watching the movie, I was thinking, man, like in another universe, this would have been like such a great star vehicle for Shia LaBeouf with like Dean Pariseau,
Yes.
who did Galaxy Quest, or someone like that, like directing a rated R version that's smart and actually has like a plot and a heavy villain and like a good actor that play opposite, because this, what I saw was just like, it really did feel like a cash grab, where it's like, oh, we got to get on this train, let's do it, boom, and it's super successful. So they obviously know what they're doing.
They all got paid.
So yeah, I give it 1 bone, just because I felt like it was a fumble. Like I just wasn't on board with it.
Okay. Brother Bishke.
I was resistant to see it.
Yes, you were.
I did see it last minute here. I was resisting it for a long time. It kind of pulled me in when Venom started to take hold of Tom Hardy, but then when Venom took over and it was just a CG nightmare, I checked out again, and I was resistant in the end. I'll give it 1.5 bones.
1.5 bones. Okay. I gotta knock it back down to 1. There was some fun to be had in the early going. I mourn this version that may exist somewhere on some hard drive of Tom Hardy really doing what he needed to do. Maybe the Blu-ray.
Ren and Stimpy Blu-ray.
I don't really care that much, but I would be I would have been more curious to see that version. I do think just when these superheroes devolve into pure CG and their back halves, like, there's nothing more boring. Like
Then 2 CG characters
my god, just flipping around, flailing around.
Yeah.
Like I can look through the screen at that point onto the street and anywhere else where there's something remotely more interesting to look at. I'm so done with that. I become disgusted with myself for being there. I'm like, the worst thing for me is to really feel like I'm wasting. And it'll sound funny coming from me, but wasting time watching a movie. I feel like no time is wasted with most movies, but it's this CG weightless, stakeless bullshit that really pisses me off and makes me feel like I'm wasting my time.
Same.
Fuck you, Venom.
Same.
I mean, just give us like a little Stan Winston. Like, I'm not saying you have to like have Tom Hardy slathered in like weird actual tar sludge or whatever, but there's a side of me that's like, that's interesting. That's kind of like the Xenomorph from Alien. It's like a practical, physical thing
what
that
this
poses
movie
an
could have
actual
been.
threat to the actor.
You know what this movie could have been with that kind of direction and something a little darker. It's the wrong cast of everything. The director.
Yeah,
the people.
Hardy was too long in the tooth.
people.
I felt it needed to be like a young Peter Parker,
But because
surrogate.
he brought something a little je ne sais quoi to the proceedings, I gotta give this a Roger Ebert Memorial half bone.
You're doing
I'm
half.
Yeah.
dropping it to half. Okay.
I'm dropping
Yeah, for the lobster tank scene, I guess.
for the lobster scene.
That's crap.
Guys, that's Venom.
Venom.
I think
We didn't even talk about Eminem.
we were all pretty underwhelmed. We're gonna get at least one more, so strap in. The train keeps a chugging.
Yeah, we'll try to. I don't want to do a hot take on every single
we
Marvel
don't.
movie.
We don't have to.
Okay.
No, but this was like the
That's-
first anti,
We're
like,
seeing
good
what
guy.
people like might not see. Some
Yeah,
people
yeah,
are
yeah.
watching this
Yeah.
stuff. You know, we can skip some of this.
If you have other thoughts about Venom, hit us up on Instagram.
If anybody loved it, man,
Venom, 4 bones, Venom.
Love and light, y'all.
Love and light.